And we're back, and what was really weird about this is that I got a random call right as I started this previously. I'm making sure Crobat's in the league. Like, as soon as I said hello, my phone rang, and thank you for proving that phones ring. Thank you, Emerald. Love you. Anyway, uh, and it has nothing to do with what's going on. I just thought it was interesting, and kind of a weird phone call. But overall, it was not for me, so we'll move on. This Tentacruel is more than likely gonna live. Yeah. Because while Wing Attack is 60 power and Crobat does hit relatively hard, it's a Tentacruel, and Wing Attack is only 60 power. So, it doesn't work out. But I do want to talk about a certain topic. We're not going to be talking about more of the ocean because, I mean, do you see how long we've been on this? Like, way too long. When it comes to Pokemon as a whole, there's always legendaries introduced. We see it multiple times in multiple generations. Generation 1, there was 4 or 5. I guess if you want to count Mew. I'm going to count the whatever they're called, the Mysticals, or the Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, so on and so forth. You can call them whatever you want. They're legendary Pokemon, or event Pokemon, which is probably a better term. But when it comes to, what's it called? The legendary Pokemon in Generation 1, there was 5, and then, in Generation 2, there were 6, which brings it up to a total of 11, and then all of a sudden, if you get into Generation 3, you're packing, let's see, 3, 6, 8, 10 legendaries, and it's a sharp increase from, I mean, having 5 and 6 in the past 2 games. While I don't really hate this decision, I do feel it kind of lessens the value of certain legendary Pokemon and kind of makes them not worth the time that they took to design. Overall, like, they're fine, but I just hate that, like, Latias and Latios exist. I feel that they're kind of wasted. I don't like their design that much. Their typing is alright, but it's just, why are they the same? It would have been cool if you had, like, the Eon Duo be something different from each other, but they're the same thing. I feel it was a little too lazy. Especially if you look at some of the older art, it looks like Latias was designed with legs at one point, which became Blaziken's legs. If you look at the official art, you can kind of make that jump if you look at it. But when it comes to, or not the official art, but the beta art, or the, would it be called alpha art at that point? If it was that early in development? Is there such thing as alpha art? I guess. If it's made during an alpha, whatever. Anyway, but there's of course Deoxys Jirachi, which Deoxys is somewhat interesting. I'm not a big fan of its design overall. I do like some of the forms, but Deoxys is interesting by itself. It doesn't really need that much. When it comes to Jirachi, I think Jirachi is probably my favorite of the mystical type things, like the similar to Mew, Celebi, and all that. I think it just looks cool. It's a cool idea, a wishmaker Pokemon, so to say. And also, I'm a big fan of the way Ironhead flinches everything in existence, because that's the way we do it, apparently. And overall, like, the rest of the legendary Pokemon are fine. I don't like Latios, and then I just find Deoxys kind of weird. I get the design point, but I don't really like it. It feels like it doesn't fit Generation 3 is my issue. And it's really hard to explain that, but most of Generation 3 looks not as animalistic or animal-based / inanimate objects like it was in Generations 1 and 2. But they seem to be overall just like purely animal-based. Like, they have some type of animal property to them. Most of the time. I don't know. Actually, pretty much all of them. I'm trying to think of like separate things that might not be included. I'm drawing a blank, so maybe I'm just forgetting, but whatever. But I do want to talk about how there are two trios in this game. There's the Titan Trio, Regice, Regirock, Registeel, which are fantastic Pokemon in their own right. Especially for endgame. I'll probably talk about that later. But when it comes to the Regis, I really think Regirock is the dumbest thing in the game as a legendary. It's a rock. Which I understand Regice is a bunch of ice, but it looks like it doesn't look bad. Regirock just looks weird. And then Registeel is just a robot, which is pretty cool. It's like a possessed, like, I don't even know how to say it. It's like a possessed robot, I guess, which doesn't make sense, but oh well. But when it comes to the trio, I'm not a big fan of Regirock. Regice and Registeel are fine. I feel it would have been cool if there was a different like type than a rock for it, because I don't really understand what they were going with. They were like, I think a ground Reggie would have worked. But I guess Reggie ground doesn't roll off the tongue. So I guess they were just kind of being lazy with it. I don't know. What other Regis could there be? I guess that would be it, huh? Just Regice, Regirock, and Registeel. We're gonna go with Manectric here. I didn't actually think of that beforehand. I don't know, I just feel like Regirock is kind of bad. I don't like it. That's my personal opinion on it. When it comes to Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza, the Weather Trio, or whatever people call them, they're the Weather Trio, or the Gen 3 Trio, the mascots, whatever. But when it comes to the Pokemon, what am I trying to say? But when it comes to the Weather Trio, I don't really have a problem with any of them. All three look really good. They're all intimidating. They all have like some uniqueness, and Groudon looks really cool in my opinion. Same with Rayquaza. But when it comes to Kyogre, I'm not the biggest fan on it, to be honest. I like its typing, of course. Water always works. But when it comes to just like the general design, it's not the greatest for me. It doesn't sell it, so to say. It works, of course, but I don't know. I feel like it could have gone better. But the big thing I really want to hit on besides design, which is very important because design just makes the Pokemon look cool. But when it comes down to the like overall usefulness of the Pokemon, it kind of falls apart. Like when you look at Registeel and Regirock, they're kind of just defensive Pokemon and they don't really do much besides Toxic or maybe an attacking move, which Registeel doesn't really get, so that kind of falls apart. And Latias and Latios are Dragon Psychic, which is really good, and the reason it's good is because Dark literally has no options besides existing. And we are going in an abandoned ship, by the way. And we're going to see if we can actually get a glitch to occur. Maybe we can. I don't remember exactly where it's at, though. No, I'm not doing that. I know the way this is. I'm not doing that. I would try and avoid double battles, as stated before. But when it comes to, what's it called? What was I saying? When it comes to, like, the usefulness, all Generation 3 Pokemon had some success at one point or another. I'm mostly talking about the Regis because the rest of them are pretty relevant in, like, competitive play, or even if you have them and use them, they're really good. The only one that kind of had trouble would probably be Regirock. Is probably the worst of all of them. Though, nowadays, probably Regice, mostly because Ice is a terrible type. And, yeah, the rest of them are pretty much, like, still relevant. Registeel is still a great Pokemon, mostly because Steel typing is really good. Latios, I mean, they've kind of fallen in recent times, like past 6 months, but overall they're still pretty powerful for everything else in the game. And then Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquaza, I mean, they even got ridiculous, like, alternate forms in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which was completely unnecessary, in my opinion. But whatever. Deoxys is always relevant. It's just a powerful Pokemon, and then Jirachi is just cool and always relevant. Iron Head, Choice Scarf, Serene Grace, Flinch to win. Like, it's possible to just completely win with that. But when it comes down to, like, just... I feel like they tried too hard to make legendaries valuable in this generation. They're all... Because one of the reasons that I really hate the Eon duos, they're very similar, yes, and they're supposed to be, like, a reason for you to play multiple games of Generation 3. Which I'm fine for. I understand, like, the idea of it, whatever. It's to sell more copies, fine. Whatevs. Okay, thank you for being a random person. I always forget you can run in here. Harbor Mail, which is straight A garbage. But when it comes down to, it's empty, thank you. When it comes down to, like, Latios, I feel like they're really lame for what they represent. I think this might be the room where I could show off a glitch. I don't know if I'll be able to show it off this time, but there is a... It's not a glitch, it's an oversight, I should state. And it's a Spheal. How do you say Spheal? Spheal is Water Ice type, which is pretty cool. And we'll get around to talking about it when it's actually available, which won't be for a long time. Thank you for... I actually really like the Spheal family Walrein, and, like, overall, they look really cool. They're basically what I wish Dugong was in the Generation 1 game, because Dugong is just really lame. Whoops, I'm sunk. I think this might be the... Alright, so... No. Okay, so there's a specific tuber in this ship. I don't remember exactly where it's at. I'm trying to not run into trainers, like, without looking first. Can I go in these? Thank you. Here's some free items. Over there is a dive spot. We'll get into what dive specifically does later, but it's an HM and we won't have access for quite a bit. So just remember this exists. It also leads to some pretty valuable stuff. What are you doing? What? It's not even moving. It's empty. It should say ill. What's wrong with this? The door's locked. Storage. Alright. Moving on. Oh, is this it? Is this the guy I wanted to... Yeah, this is. So if you were to get the tuber to run into you while you're on the stairs, it wouldn't spawn you in this type of location for battle. It wouldn't use the generic, like, I forget what they call this, but it works on a ship. It makes sense. But if you get him to look at you while you're on the stairs, so if you're like this, and he comes up and gets you, it should go to a cave scene, because the game doesn't know what to do. There's a double battle. Is there anything through here? There's an item. Oh wow, we still have quite a bit to go. I guess we'll be handling that next time. Anything in the trash? Nope. So I guess we're moving on. Next time we'll be finishing the ship. We'll be moving on to some of the areas. We're going north to Rustboro. I decided to change it instead of Watson because I want to. But we'll be going that route, and we'll be seeing, we'll finally get to talk about a new Pokemon. Praise the Lord. So, hopefully, see you guys next time. Do whatever you prefer, and till then.